Hi everyone, Shelton here with Remax Real Estate Kamloops with your April real estate statistics. Here I like to kind of sit down, go in depth with you on what's happening in the market here. So let's dive right into it and start with the months of inventory in the market right now. We currently have 7.6 months of inventory, definitely still in a balanced market, but a hot market. If in those little pockets we're having lots of sales. Over the past 12 months, we've seen 2,700 sales approximately, and we currently have 1,700 listings. So that's what gives us our 7.6 months of inventory. We're just looking at with the average numbers of sales in the last 12 months. How long would it take us to sell those 1,700 listings if none were to come on the market? So that gives us 7.6 months of inventory. Next, we have the Kamloops residential median sales price. For April, it was $385,000. For March, it was $378,000. So we saw an increase of 1.6%. Great to see that growth, and we'll go in depth a little bit more with our breakdown by price range to see why that occurred. In year to year, also, you can see in April we had a price range, a price of $385,000 for the median price, and in April of 2015, we had $371,000. So great, we've seen a 3.7% increase. The market saw prices look like they seem to be rising, and there's more sales. And if we go into the average sales price, see a little bit of a different picture, and that's why it's so important to kind of compare both of them. So for average sales price, we've seen for April $334,000, and for March it was $338,000. So we've actually seen a 1.3% decrease. And just because we've seen a lot more sales in the lower end, we have seen a lot more sales in the kind of higher end too, in the 360 range. In the next graph coming up here, you'll see that. But year to year, we've actually had a 6.6% growth. So from 334,000 to from 313,000 of April 15. So you can see the difference a year makes. So we've had basically a $15,000 price increase since then. So that's awesome. Our new listings were up 7.1% from 520 in March to 557, so more listings are coming on the market, but definitely not as much as what were coming on the market in April of 15. We had 515 come on the market, and then again year to year for April 16 we've got 557 new units come on, so an 8.1% growth year to year and a 7.1% growth month to month, so more listings coming on the market now. Sales, we've seen 320 sales for residential in April of 2016, so that's awesome. We've seen a 25% increase over March for increase in unit sales, so that's fantastic. And year to year, we've seen a 40% increase. So in April of 2015, we had 229 sales, and that's jumped up to 320 for this April. So yeah, a couple more listings coming on the market, but a lot more sales being generated. If we jump down to this next graph here, you can see the red bar is our number of sales for April of 2016, and blue bar is number of sales for March 2016. So you can kind of see here we had a lot more sales in the 360 to 399 range, as well as the 320 to 359. So a lot more active in that price range, and also in the 200 to the 279. So that's probably also what brought our average down. But also what brought our median up. We had so many more in the 360 to 399 range. If you compare that to March, you can see there was so much more. So that's what brought our median up, but probably pushed our average down. And then the next graph here is our average residential sales price and our unit sales history. So this is actually from December 2010 all the way up to April of 2016. So this is all the information I've been able to gather. There's no other statistics past that point. So as you can see here, our average sales price, like I said before, has jumped up to for residential has jumped up to 377,000, and we had 192 units sold. So you can see it's following the trend as it has for the past 6 years here. The red line here is our residential unit sales, so just like you'd expect, rising sales in the summer months, so it looks like we're definitely going to have a much more of a peak this year than in years past. If you look to April 15 here, you can see there was basically 135, and this is just for residential here. I'll look it up for you, one sec. 134, right? So we've basically increased on that quite a lot. We're at 192 sales this April, and this is just for residential homes, not townhouses, mobiles, or manufactured. Yeah, so it's awesome to see prices are rising and unit sales are rising. So hopefully we see a lot more growth with that. Also, the light blue line here is our growth over the last 5 years. So if anyone's into statistics, you can see our R squared function. So it says 0.785. So if we assume that, we've kind of seen over the last 6 years a 7% growth. So hopefully with this year we can raise that up a bit more, but only time will tell. So the next graph here is our number of units sold versus number of units listed. So for April 2016, we had 18.17% for your odds of selling. So out of all the listings on the market, you would have an 18.17 chance of selling your home. So that's increased from March, where March only had a 15.28% chance. And year to year, this is really awesome to see. For April 2015, we only had 11.21% chance, where this April you have an 18.17% chance. So increased significantly. And as you can tell by the bar here, a lot more sales, not a lot of listings. So when we see that principle of supply and demand, that's when we see prices rise. So everything's looking great this year. If you're looking to sell your house, I'd love to chat with you. Next graph here, we'll go into our residential sales. So this is just from February 15 to April 16. I know it's kind of a random date range, but these are statistics I had. So I put them in the graph here, and you can see the trend, just like the graph I showed you before. We have that dip in December, January, and then things are rising again. So unit sales are up, average is up. We'll jump over to townhouses here. And you can kind of see the condo townhouse sales kind of jump around. Like we had a spike last year in August, and then a drop in September. Then it kind of evened out again October, November, and then drop for December. So it basically follows the residential trend for unit sales as well. But it's interesting to note that they actually dropped a little bit over March. So the condo market slowed down a little bit. Like 9 units. It's really not that huge of a deal, but I think you're going to see a lot of people, especially in that price range. You can see that the average price was just a little bit below $299 or $300. Sorry. So definitely in some townhouse price ranges, that's when you're seeing people debating between going to a house that's a little bit older, that needs a little bit TLC, or going to that newer townhouse or a little bit older townhouse. So that's the kind of balancing act that you have in the townhouse sector. You have to be priced competitively because there is so many options in the townhouse sector. Yeah, and so let's jump over to apartment sales here. You can kind of see the same trend. It's a little all over the place, but apartments are actually having a stronger kickback than they have in the past, as you can see here. So for April 15, you can see they only sold 24 units. This is the blue line here. Whereas this April they sold around 34 units. So a lot more units being sold, about 10 more units. You can see the average price for apartments definitely jumbles around, but this can just be because a apartment complexes just hit the market. So if one realtor is marketing a specific project and they have a bunch of sales in that 1 month, or they hold off and everybody can take possession of that 1 month, that's when we see a lot of sales in this 1 month. So that can happen, which kind of skews the numbers here. But as you can see, the average price is rising here. So average price for April was around $214. And then we'll jump over to manufactured, our last graph here, and you can see manufactured is kind of all over the place. It's really different than any of the other graphs. But you can see they had a really strong summer last year, 20 units sold a month, sorry, and then October, November, December dropped again, and then we've been having it increase again. So April looks like it's definitely doing much better than it was last year, and the average price is rising as well. Average price for manufacturers definitely jump around a lot more because You do have the lower end where it's the $20,000 trailer, and then you definitely have the higher end where it's just a mobile that's maybe brand new, and it could be 150, 200,000. So that's where we see a lot of jumping around in the average sales price there. And that's all our stats for today. So if you guys have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Again, this is Connor Shelton from Remax Real Estate Kamloops. Process, results, value, sell with Shelton.